So one of the areas that we're talking to content providers about, broadcasters here at IBC, is the area of simplifying their streaming workflow, whether that's live streaming or on-demand streaming. So the reason why that's really important is, over the past 5 to 6 years in particular, it's become much more complicated for a content provider to be able to get video from their origin out to multiple different devices. So in the old world of streaming, I'll call it, prior to 5 or 6 years ago, you really had one device that content providers were targeting, and it was either a PC-based system or a Mac, right? And there was one format and there was one bit rate. So it was a relatively simple, straightforward process. Fast forward to today, now you have an environment where there's just so many more connected devices, particularly mobile devices, smartphones, tablets, right? So in that 5 to 6 years, and I say 6 years because 6 years ago is when the iPhone was launched. And that's really what started to fuel this explosion of mobile devices and really consumption of internet-based content on mobile devices. So the point is, you have all of these different devices, iPhones, iPads, Android devices, Windows-based phones. So it's a much more complex environment for a content provider to be able to get their video out onto those devices. So now they have to worry about different formats for the different devices. Also, technologies like adaptive bitrate streaming require those content providers now to produce multiple different quality versions of a single video. All right? And then add to that security considerations. So content providers in many cases are required to have very specific security requirements or mechanisms in place to be able to protect that content regardless of what device or what format or protocol that content's being delivered over. So that's one area where Akamai has been very, very focused in innovating, is to help our customers, any content provider, really dramatically simplify that streaming workflow. So I'll give you a couple of specific examples. So one of the services that we've rolled out very recently that we're talking about here at IBC is our cloud-based transcoding service. What that means is a content provider could publish to our network a single high-quality bitrate of a video, and then what we will do is in the cloud is produce multiple renditions of that same video. So let's say they publish in a 10 meg file. What we will do then, our transcoding engine will do, is then produce additional bit rates of that video. And that's required to be able to leverage adaptive streaming. Now, one of the benefits of that is not only scale, because we have this massive network of over 135,000 servers that we're overlaying this transcoding capability on, but it's speed. So typically, we can transcode very, very quickly, at minimum about 50% of the time of the actual duration of the asset itself. So if you upload a 1 hour file, high definition video, and you want 12 renditions, meaning 12 additional quality versions of that video, we will typically be able to do that in 30 minutes or less, less in most cases. The second piece then is the packaging of the format itself, right? So we can do the transcoding, but we can also do the packaging, right? So you can give us a single format, let's say an MP4, H.264 video, and then we will produce multiple formats or multiple versions of that video. So you publish in an MP4 file, we will deliver out HDS, which is HTTP dynamic streaming, which is flash-based, or HLS, which is supported not only by iOS devices, but by Android devices as well, and a number of other connected devices. So in essence, what we're doing, all of that complexity that I mentioned a minute ago, the transcoding, the packaging, and even the security required to get the content out on all of these different devices, we're basically moving a lot of that heavy lifting away from the customer's or content provider's origin workflow and into our network. Right? So it's really dramatically not only simplifying their origin, but actually removing some cost from their origin workflow. So that's one of the aspects of what we're promoting at the show today. In terms of success for that particular service, is adoption of the technology. Right? So we're seeing an increasing trend within our customer base, but within the industry in general, as the world of streaming has become more complicated, a desire to look for vendors, if you like Akamai, that can take a lot of that heavy lifting of that origin-based workflow away from them, so they can focus on the content and creating a great service and a great experience, and we can be the technology partner to do not only the delivery, but a lot of that other heavy lifting that I mentioned as well. Now, that's a little different than what many people would have known Akamai for, which is generally a content delivery network, right? We get content from A to B, and we're extremely good at doing that. But it's another example of where we're focusing on providing services above and beyond basic delivery. Now, with that said, we're still very much focused on innovating delivery itself, right? And when we say innovating delivery, at the end of the day, it means enabling our customers, could be a broadcaster, an OTT service provider, but enabling them to be able to deliver the highest quality viewing experience on any device. So we're integrating and rolling out new technologies onto our delivery platform as well. Most recently, this week at IBC, we announced the introduction of something that we call Fast TCP. And Fast TCP basically is an enhancement over traditional TCP, but it's really designed to increase the throughput of traffic on our network. And we just rolled that out at IBC this year. And that's just one example of some of the optimizations that we're making on our network to improve delivery by being able to increase throughput of traffic.